These truths are self-evident, are they not?
Okay, let me tell you straight up that I was not one of those kids in school who could talk about math formula like it was one of their favorite sports or something. Frankly, I was preoccupied with other things at the time. But honestly, it's always been a struggle for me, and to this day I shun away from complex math even when analyzing my own poker game. I always tend to look for an easier way to understand the game and make it work for me. So if you're like me and just find the math of poker painstaking, then I just might have something for you here. It's the I Hate Math Guide to Making Profitable Decisions in Poker. Let me tell you right now, you don't need to be a math wizard to be a winning poker player. I am living proof of this. You also don't need to spend hours and hours poring over self-analysis data spewed up in a massive array of figures, averages, and even supposed leaks. Not necessary. Again, I never do that shit. No offense to the geeky math kids out there. So if I am a math dummy and I don't do scientific level self-analysis, how the shit am I doing this? Well, this all goes back to a dude named Benjamin Franklin. Yeah, he came up with this simple formula he used for all of his decision making. Pros and cons. So yeah, I'm sure you've seen this before, but don't go anywhere just yet, because if you give me a few minutes, I'm going to prove to you here that if you understand this difficult, yeah right, formula, you can start winning money in online poker today. I'm not kidding. Just hear me out. Here's how it works in theory. Basically, you state the issue at hand on which you are pondering. Then you get a pencil and paper and split the page down the middle with a top on it. Pros go over here, cons go here. Simple, I know you've seen that before. Then you start listing the potential outcomes of this decision and put them on the appropriate side, being as analytical as you can. More often than not, you are going to start noticing something. One side will be distinctively more convincing. And what I have found in thinking about this for online poker is that there is also usually one, maybe two, overwhelming points which override all others.
Perfectly acceptable.
For example, in this hand it was the middle stages of a large field MTT and the under-the-gun position had raised the pot. I called him, and so did the player behind me. Everyone else folded to the big blind, who decided to shove his somewhat short stack, making the pot about 57,000. Now the under-the-gun player folded, and it was my turn to act. All right then, I have a clear issue to think about here. Okay, so let's just go through it. That is a huge pot now, and it's rather attractive. I don't think there's any way the color behind me will stay in if I call or subsequently shove to force him out. There is a chance I could be dominated, and it's a lot of chips to lose right now, so that's not so good. Although I will still be okay in the tournament. I'm not going to be out. I have them outstacked. If I win, I will be the big stack at the table and can play a lot more pots subsequently. I'm probably only a slight underdog at worst here, and a good chance I'm ahead here because the big blind is the type of player who would squeeze in this spot, figuring I might have called light in the first place. Now looking at all these points, things become a bit more clear, don't they? And a couple things stand out for me, making this an acceptable play with a view to going deeper in this tournament. Now, this does not mean you should never use math in poker, because you need to know your basic draw probabilities and pot odds and add that to these types of decisions, as well as profiling. Here's another example, like in this hand, where in the early stages I was first in the pot with a pair of sixes, and the player next to me shoved his stack, which was a horrible bet, but as you can see from the pros and cons analysis, there ain't much good in letting my stack ride at this point. I may only be a slight favorite to him shoving something like ace-king. The blinds are still 50 and 100. There are several weak players at the table. This dude's PFR is only 4%, duh, and on and on. To me, it's an easy decision to fold. The reality is here, I see a lot of online players calling in my spot right here, which is one of the reasons why most of them lose money. But when you look at it this way, it's a pretty easy decision the other way, isn't it?
If we force a decision too soon, we may reap disaster.
Okay, now if you can't come up with these pros and cons yourself, then for the love of God, join a poker forum, because you can post hands that have been giving you trouble, and players with a lot more experience than you will discuss them with you for free. The more you discuss such hands, the more you will be able to reason out these kinds of things all by yourself instantaneously. Now, what you're looking at here now, by the way, is the replayer for Tournament Indicator, which shows all of the table data and profiling information that you had when you played the hand, any hand. It stores it for you so you can go back and review the hand, just like Benjamin Franklin would be doing if he was alive today. This is important because as an online player, you don't get to analyze on the fly. You can only look at what you did after the fact and learn that way. So this is an awesome tool for that. It's the only tool I ever used, Tournament Indicator, and it's the only type of information I feel you really need to start winning online poker tournaments. In fact, if you think about it, all the best poker tournament books analyze the hands using the pros and cons method. There's no advanced math. In fact, very little time is spent on any math past pot odds, really. But what they always do discuss is things like profiling, position, hand strength, stack sizes, and other things like prize structures. And you know what? All that critical information used to make those decisions is right here in front of you. It's in Tournament Indicator. In fact, that first hand we discussed wasn't really my hand. It was actually from Gus Hansen's book called Every Hand Revealed, where he describes the pros and cons of every hand he played on the way to winning the Aussie Millions poker tournament. It's a great book. I'd highly recommend it. But there are plenty of other quality tournament books to choose from that explain hands in the same way, using this sort of check and balance system that you have in Tournament Indicator. So I really want to encourage you to start using that replayer to review your play regularly. And if you do need more help, join our forum at tournamentindicatorforum.com and just start posting and analyzing your hands in a straight up way that you can understand and improve upon. No geeky math required, I guarantee it. Thanks for dropping by and watching this video, and please post a comment and I'll do my best to reply here. By the way, if you don't have Tournament Indicator yet, just use my link below here, because I can get you a full week of using this tool for absolutely free. That's 7 days. Play in any tournaments. It's unlimited use. If it hasn't paid for itself within that week, then you don't have to pay a cent for it, but I think you're going to like it. So take care and thanks for watching. It's Marty Smith for MZoneReport.com. Ciao.
Self-evident then.